Hello everyone and welcome back to the forge. Now today we're going to be taking this big old chunky piece of leaf spring you see laying here on this anvil. It's a nice thick piece and we're going to be turning it into, forging out a big old Bowie chopper. So let's go ahead and get the forge lit up, get that piece of leaf spring straightened out and get to work. We had kind of a gnarly spot right here on the end of this where when we was unwinding that coil on the end that it got kind of a cold shut. So I used the hot cut hardy and cut this piece off, but we've got some spots here if we don't address that are going to give us some problems. I'm going to take this over to the grinder, grind this off good and clean. You can also use a rasp or a file to do this with, but it just takes a lot longer. I'm going to take it over 36 grit belt, knock it off, get it good and cleaned up, and then we'll move on to forging this blade out. Let's get to work. All right, got that bad boy all cleaned up. No more cold shuts. Let's get it tossed back in the forge and get to making this Bowie knife. is where we currently are. I'll let the steel cool down enough I can lay it here on our paper and just give it a quick look. We are short in some areas and way too long in the others, which is fine. This is a rough forging. So I'm going to put this back in the forge. We're going to forge up more of this, what our harpoon point will be right here. And we're going to bring this belly down a little bit more, as well as work this area down here, just to make sure we fall into the area so when we grind it we can get the shape that we want. So let's get it tossed back in there and get it finished up. Almost there. And there's the rough forging of our Bowie knife. We got more than enough material to work with to get our final profile that we're wanting. I'm going to go ahead and let this cool down, and then we will get our profile drawn out on the blade, grind it to shape, and move on to the next step, getting it ready for heat treat. Alright, there is our template laid out on our blade. Like I said, we had a little too much material here in the front, but having too much material is never a bad thing. It's when you don't have enough that the problems begin to start up. Then shorter knives happen and smaller knives happen. I just wanted to make certain that we had enough to get the blade profile I was aiming for, and we did. So let's go over here. I'm going to take the bandsaw first, cut off a lot of this excess here to save on my grinding belts, and then we'll go in there to the grinder and get to cleaning this up and get it ready to start grinding all this scale off and start seeing what we got underneath. And so we got the profile ground into our Bowie knife here, and as you can tell, we have some areas like the tang here and like this tip up here that's way too thick. The tang I'm not too worried about right now because we have to grind in the shoulders and everything here anyway down the road. The tip though I need to address before I start putting in the bevels. As you can see, it stays pretty consistent through this point and then begins to flare out. All of the flare out is actually on one side. We got one side that's good and straight, one side that's proud of the other. So I'm going to use my layout fluid and go around the sides here and take my caliper and follow the straightest edge that I've got to determine where I need to remove the material on this tip at, so we have a good straight surface to work with. So after that, it'll just be cleaning it up, grinding in the bevels, thinning out the tang, getting the shoulders established here, and then we'll move on to thermal cycling and heat treat. But so far so good. I like the profile it's got. I think it'll be nice. It already feels pretty good in the hand. So let's get this marked out and get on to the next step. Alright, that right there, that bottom silver line is how much we need to take off to make this blade ground straight. So let's head back to the grinder, knock that off the tip. Alright, that's a good stopping point for this video. I'll take some time in between part 1 and part 2 and clean this up some more and get our bevels roughed in a little, and so we can start part 2 of this video with the heat treat and moving on to addressing our shoulders here and getting the final bevels ground in, our clip point up there, or our harpoon point up there, and get to work on our hardware, or our hand guard, and look at our handle material, which I think I'm going to use bog oak for, and move on from there. So far so good. Like I said, I really like the profile of this style of knife. With that being said, I appreciate you for joining us today. If you would hit that subscribe button, remember to ring the bell for notifications so you can be notified of our newest content as it comes out, as well as part 2 of this. I appreciate you very much. Have a good one. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.